Was it hard? Is it hard to get a listing?
The game changer for me, the moment that I got to the point where I stopped worrying about whether I got a deal or not.
Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Ricky Carruth! He is an investor, a speaker, and soon to be remembered, in my opinion, as a legend in the industry.
The cool thing about what he was doing was he was documenting everything. Like, he would post his calls, his work he was putting in, the strategies. He was sharing everything.
But I took it as a challenge to see just how fast you could go from nothing to really get up and doing good stuff.
If you don't believe me that that's what my intentions are, then that's laughable.
But for me, it's about building the relationship, because the better we get at building the relationship, the less objections we're going to get.
The number one reason people choose agents is because they had a friend in the business that they felt they were buddies with. It's crazy how the mind works. And honestly, your mind could be lying to you. And the reality could be the complete opposite. What's up, Shane Noblin? What's up, dude?
What's happening, Ricky Carruth? How you doing, brother?
Good, man. So how many listings have you picked up in like the last couple months?
So I picked up one this week. Last week I picked up two. Last couple months I've picked up 17. I started
17 listings.
Oh yeah, dude. October 1, when that 30 listing challenge started, I went hard. I went hard on it, and I picked up 18 with my listing appointment today. I got to come list me today that I'm doing. As long as it goes like I expect it's going to go, that'll be number 18. I was shooting for 30, but I didn't hit it.
Are all these what are these? Like what?
So these are all expireds and FSBOs. Now I went really hard this year on FSBOs, really honed my craft with that. So far this year, I've picked up over 40 FSBOs, just going hard on them. I've got a whole process though, from mapping out exactly what the initial conversation sounds like. And I don't even like calling it a script. Everybody else wants to call it a script. For me, it's a conversation with 5 non-negotiable sentences that drop in it. And as long as you just get into a fun conversation with someone and drop those sentences in where it makes sense, the calls, almost every call goes just the same. And I'm having a lot of success teaching other agents to do the same thing.
And you've got a YouTube channel. I'm going to link that below so people can watch you make live cold calls, right?
I do. I've got a lot of my videos on there. I've also got some of my coaching videos on there where I have agents come in and I teach them how to do it. Hell, just Tuesday this week, I had an agent come in out of Georgia. She's 4 years as an agent, never made cold calls in her life. Got her on the phones. I got her in Tuesday to go through the process. And then yesterday, I got her on the phones for the first time, making cold calls to FSBOs. Her very first 2 calls, she set 2 listing appointments for today. She's at those listings right now.
So 18 listings in the last couple months. But for sell by owners expireds, I guess the question is, was it hard? Is it hard to get a listing?
It's really not. And the funny thing is I kind of got myself backed into a corner last year. So last year I was doing a lot of circle prospecting. I had a lot of momentum in the industry. So we're talking 22, the spring of 22, I eased up on my prospecting because we wanted to do a big addition on my house. I'm a former contractor, so I hate to hand off that responsibility to anybody else. I like to do a lot of my own work. I stopped prospecting, but I had a lot of momentum going. So I was still closing deals and had things happening. Problem is I hit around October, maybe November, and realized I had one closing in the pipeline and nothing else coming. Yeah. And it kind of caught me by surprise, but I took it as a challenge to see just how fast you could go from nothing to really get up and doing good stuff. And so in November, I sat down, I said, all right, well, with the changes in the market, with the interest rates going up and all of that, where do I want to make my mark? And I said, well, let's do for sale by owner and see if I can get some good momentum going in that. And so I sat down with my local Zillow and I opened up my range to an hour and a half. I had 90 that I could go after immediately. For the first 45 days, I went on an appointment a day for 45 days straight, 7 days a week. And I picked up over 20 listings in my first 45 days. We're talking November, December last year, and really got things moving. And then I've just kept this train running through the year. And this year, it's looking like I'm going to end the year at almost 9 million, like 8.75 million for the year, which is a pretty decent year for me. And I'm
Well, you're in
looking
a
to
small
do,
market, right? What's the average price?
the average price is 300,
Yeah, I
300
mean
to
that's like the
325.
smallest market. I mean,
Mhm.
there are smaller markets, but that's pretty small.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really a country market. We have a
So
few
how many deals is that? 9 million. How many deals was that? That was what,
around
35?
around 30, 39, 40 deals. Some of
And
the
what
deals are
year is this for
smaller.
you in real estate?
3.
Third year in real
We're
estate.
coming into the 4th year. So I got my license in 2020. So this is my
Yeah.
3rd full year.
Wow. Wow. It's crazy.
Hmm.
Well, you just said, okay, I'm going to switch over from Circle to for sale by owners, really get this thing going. Picked up 20 listings in 45 days, whatever. Um, it seems you make it look easy. And
Right.
I guess the question is it really that easy? And if it is, then why do agents not do it?
I think agents are afraid to get on the phone. They're afraid of the unknown and they are searching for warm leads. They want people to reach out to them so that they feel more comfortable in these conversations. And really, the game changer for me was the moment that I got to the point where I stopped worrying about whether I got a deal or not. Really didn't matter. All I care about when I make these phone calls, and if you watch my YouTube channel, you can see on here the silly stuff that I talk about. All I care about is getting into a fun conversation with somebody and creating a relationship. Because what I
What
found is, go ahead.
Well, a fun conversation, right? I just want to like unpack that for a second. I mean,
Oh yeah,
yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I don't want to skim over that. I want to actually hear what the hell you're talking about with this, right? Because this is the magic for me. Because like, I call people, when I call people, I'm like, when I hear people being, kind of negative, have a negative tone towards me when I call them out of the blue and
hmm,
it's a cold call or whatever, I literally laugh out loud. Like
right.
it's funny to me that they would act that way towards me. It's so funny that it makes me kind of giggle for a second and they hear me
Hmm,
laugh. I'm like, "Hey, listen."
right,
And it turns the whole thing around because it just allows it forces them to understand that I'm not nervous about this.
right, right.
I have zero dog in this fight. I could care less how this call goes. I'm here doing
Exactly.
community outreach as a volunteer worker, not getting paid. I don't get
Yep,
paid to call you, ma'am. Right. And if you did do a deal with me, I'm not going to get paid for months and months and months.
that's
Right.
right.
I'm doing this for free. I'm just
Yeah,
trying to see if there's something I can do to help you. If you don't believe me that that's what my intentions are, then that's laughable to
right.
me, right? That's the
Yep.
first thing. And when I do get into a conversation with them, I'm kind of taking it to a play. I'm trying to figure out where I can turn this into a fun conversation myself. So I want to unpack that for a second.
Right.
Take me through like what you mean by fun conversation.
So I'm always listening for them to open the door to talk about something other than real estate. Now, I identify myself like when I'm calling FISBOs, I've got a structure to my calls where my opening is always the same. I want to address a FISBO's primary concern, which is they're selling for sale by owner. I don't need an agent, which is fine. But I want to put voice to that before they get a chance to. So my opening is always the same. Good morning. My name's Shane. I'm a local real estate agent. I see you got a property for sale by owner on Johnson Street. Is that right? And they'll go, yeah, because how else can they answer it?
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
They don't get the opportunity to go, I'm for sale by owner. I don't need you, because I'm saying it first. Kind of like when your wife is mad at you. You can let her
Okay.
stay mad at you and then blow up, or you can say, babe, I see you're mad at me. I know I did something. What was it? Let me fix it. Come here. Let me rub your back. It'll make it all better. I promise. And she does just that. She laughs. Right. Same thing with these FISBOs. We put voice to it first so that we're on the same side of the fence as they are. And then my next question typically is something like, once they say, yes, I'm for sale by owner. Well, I see you're on for a week. How's that going? You having a lot of traction? Here, I'm just trying to see if they're going to chat with me a little bit. If they talk, if they're talkative, or if I'm going to have to transition to the next part of the call really quickly. I'm ready either way. But
Yeah.
if they start chatting and they, yeah, we've had a few people come out, we've had this, we've had that, and we had to go out of town this is some of the openings I'm looking for. We had to go out of town because my daughter was sick. Oh, is she okay? Right? Like, get them talking about something other than real estate.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I had to go to my daughter's wedding. Fantastic. Is that your only kid? Right? Is she staying local? Is she, you know, in another state or something? Like, just get them going down a path that they know I'm calling about real estate. But if we can start talking about other stuff, like I found a call that I made January 1st, 2023. I was going through my archive. So the beginning of this year, we're at the very end of this year. The first
Yeah.
day of this year, I was calling expireds. And my very first call of the year was to this lady, Peggy, who had an expired. And in the first 3 minutes of the call, I set the appointment for the next day. And then she opened the door about her grandson, that she's going to get her grandson. So she wasn't sure if the time was going to work, but she would let me know. And I went, grandson, is that your only grandchild? And she goes, oh, no, I have 4 of them. I said, well, how old is that one? And she said, he's 8. And I'm like, oh, at that age, they're the Energizer Bunny. Does he wear you out when you get them? We went on. Now, I've already set the appointment. The purpose of the call is over from that aspect. But for me, it's about building the relationship, because the better we get at building the relationship, the less objections we're going to get. Relationships eliminate objections because they come from people that aren't sure about you.
Yeah.
Right. And if you can build the relationship, then they don't even come with the objections. So I spent another 20 minutes talking to her about her grandson, about her knee replacement, about, you know, her growing up in that house and raising her kids in that house, and just a lot of just really good rapport building. And then ended up getting the listing. And it had been an expired that had been on 10 months and couldn't sell. And her complaint with the old agent was that no communication from him throughout the process. And so I made sure I was Mr. Communication, not that I don't already, but through this process. But she confided in me a week after getting the listing that she was in the doghouse because this friend of hers that she goes to church with, that she's known for 10 years, was a broker owner right here in our town. And he was a little upset with her that she gave the listing to someone else. She said, but after I spoke with you and then met you, I knew you were the one for me. So it all, that listing, and it was a great example of it, all came down to relationship. Because she would have absolutely gone with her broker that she knew 10 years after failing with this other broker. I don't know why she didn't go with him initially, but I wouldn't have got that listing.
It kind of goes along with what I always talk about with people work with people who they like.
Absolutely.
And if you can just break that barrier of just being their friend outside of real estate.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a lot of coaches and trainers and brokers that are like, don't be their friend. You know, don't be their friend. You're not looking for friends, blah,
Huge
blah,
mistake.
blah. Huh?
Huge mistake.
I mean, dude, that's what I feel like the number one reason people choose agents is because they had a friend in the business that they felt they were buddies with. You know? I mean, listen, this all I can say is it works for me. You know, it works for you, it seems.
Certainly works for me. I made a Mike Tyson reference. I picked up a listing last month and I attribute it to Iron Mike Tyson. We're talking, it was one that had expired or they canceled, either way. And she's telling me about how the old agent was working with her and they had a buyer in place and it's an as-is property and all of this other stuff. And she goes, yeah, well, you know, we had somebody that came forward that put in an offer through another agent, and our agent, we made it really clear with her that we weren't paying for any repairs. It was as is. And so they came with $10,000 worth of repairs, and our agent was working doubly hard trying to get us to pay it. And I went, well, that's a problem. I said, you made it clear at the outset it was as is, right? She goes, yeah. I said, well, in a case like this, you need an agent on your side that's like Mike Tyson, and not Mike Tyson when he fought Buster Douglas, but Mike Tyson when he was knocking out people in 20 seconds. That's what you need, is that kind of agent. And she goes, all right, you're hired.
I mean, you have the
I hadn't even seen the house yet.
You have the craziest stories with the one-liners that people just immediately say, you're hired.
It's done. Yeah. Yeah. Done deal. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun thinking of these silly things that you can say. And this is where not caring and just getting into fun conversations.
Yeah.
Like it really pulls down their defenses and gets them on your side. It makes, let's say you get one that's a little overpriced, doesn't sell in the time that you have it, and then it's time to renew. I never have any problem with people unless they're just completely done with the process and they want to pull it off the market and keep it. If they want to keep selling it, I have no issue getting renewals, price reductions, whatever. But I really give unfiltered, and I tell them during the calls, I give unfiltered feedback. Like I don't sugarcoat anything because that's not going to help us get your property sold. And it just works for me, just being straight up with them.
Did you come up with the Mike Tyson thing on the spot, or was that some like material that you'd been working on?
On the spot. It's my first time I used it.
Damn.
And then afterwards I went, I'm going to have to put that on YouTube because who references Mike Tyson's on a real estate sales call?
So this is like a gift of yours. You'd like come up with these one-liners.
Yeah.
On the spot.
Yeah. I don't plan these out usually.
But if you hit one that works,
happens.
you probably use it again.
Yep.
That's funny, man. Yeah, I've had some one-liners, none that like got me a listing right then.
It's just about being silly. I was in a listing appointment. A lady, her brother had passed away, and I had reached out. They had it for sale by owner. This is this summer, and they were doing an estate sale. So I said, well, hell, I'd love to come meet you guys, see the place. How about I come during your estate sale just to make it convenient? She's like, yeah, sure. That sounds good. So I went by there. I met with them. I'm walking through the living room. I look down. There are some Jordans on the floor that were size 16. And I went, holy crap. How did your brother even fit in this house? She fell to pieces laughing. She thought that was the funniest. She was like, he had some stuff going on. He was a pretty big guy. I was like, good Lord, I could row across a river in those things. Right? I just say stupid stuff when I'm on these appointments and people like me. So it works out.
Yeah. No, I had a bunch of crazy stories and stuff too. That was like the fun of it, man, was dealing with the different personalities and coming up with all the conversations and stuff, and like getting on their level and getting to know people and stuff. But you gotta love that kind of stuff, man.
You have to.
Yeah, like that's what I think a lot of people are scared of. They're in this nervous state of I guess worried about what the other person is going to say or think. I don't know. And then I mean, like, I don't even like, I had the anxiety of making calls when I first started, so I know what it feels like to like be scared to make calls. I think everybody was. Did you have the anxiety did you ever have the anxiety of making calls?
Little, I guess. I was in law enforcement for a number of years, and I ran a narcotics unit. So I did a lot of dynamic entries on search warrants and stuff. So I never really got like paralyzed by fear. I see a lot of agents that are crippled by the fear of what someone might say. And the issue I see more than anything else is that they're putting their thoughts into what they're going to encounter. Like they'll see something on a FSBO Zillow ad that says, not working with buyer's agents.
Yeah.
Buyer's going to have to whatever. And they're like, oh, this person's going to be so militant. This lady that set an appointment for today, the one that I got with Tuesday and then yesterday.
Yeah.
She was so worried that this was going to be one of those militant, angry FSBOs. And she got on the phone and had a 20-minute fun conversation with this lady. And when it came down to the discussion about, buyer agent, compensation, the lady was like, well, we'd like to try not to pay if we can, but I mean, if it's a good offer. So she wasn't militant at all. It wasn't a bad situation at all. And with her, she gets paralyzed to get on the phones. But then as soon as she gets on the phones, she's fine. She's having fun conversations. And so I think for those that are listening that do have this problem, get on the phones and get these conversations going. Kind of
Yeah.
put your fear on check long enough to get on there and see how they are, because you'll find they are a lot more fun than you think they're going to be. And then you do that enough and you just look forward to them. Then it becomes like a drug.
Yeah. Well, like that example, right? The person that says don't, don't no agents allowed or whatever, right?
Right.
Those are the easiest ones because they're not getting hounded by agents.
Right. Right.
The ones that are getting hounded by agents are the ones that have their block up the
Uh-huh.
most.
Right.
And the ones that say no agent, it's kind of like the subdivisions that this one agent dominates in. All
Mm-hmm.
the agents are like, not going to go in there. So and so sells everything in there. There's no use in, or they'll
And
get
even
mad at
trying.
me. Huh?
Right. 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 There's no
Yeah,
use in even trying.
the agent will get mad at me if I try to go in there. That's their territory and all this stuff. Those are the easiest neighborhoods to hit because there's not a bunch of agents, hitting those
Mm-hmm.
people with mail and phone calls. And there's people in those subdivisions that desperately want another option outside of the one agent that they don't like. There's a bunch of people in there that don't like that one dominant agent.
Right.
They
Right.
want another agent, and you
Yep.
come in there, there's not a lot of competition because everybody's
Mm-mm.
staying out of it.
Right.
The areas like for sale by owners that say no agents and subdivisions that are being dominated, that most agents, that's like the scariest encounters to think about, when in reality those are the easiest, most opportunistic,
Yep.
opportunities. It's crazy how the mind works.
It is.
You put something in your mind, and honestly your mind could be lying to you,
Yeah.
and the reality could be the complete opposite of all this pressure that you're putting on yourself about this situation. Could not even wherever the pressure is coming from, whatever the thing is that's got you putting pressure on yourself for it, might not even exist. That's like an agent today. I was on a coaching call today, and the agent said that they just spent a lot of money on this website. I want to say it was like Ylopo or like
Okay.
one of these websites, right? And like they're
Mm-hmm.
basically putting money into pay per click for Google leads, right?
Right.
And like we all know, that's mostly buyers and it's mostly horrible leads. You're spending a lot of money. I was like, dude, shut that down right now, bro. Number one,
Right.
like shut that down. That's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Red X. And I'm like, call expireds for sell by owners, circle prospecting. He's like, yeah, I don't know why I'm so, scared about those calls. And I was like, bro, I
It's the
was
same
like,
call.
I said, dude, I said, I've heard all this before. I said, here's what you do. I said, you call the expires for sell by owner circle prospecting leads. And I
Mhm.
said, pretend like they're a pay per click Google
Yes,
lead that you got.
that's
And he was
right.
like, he said when he calls Google pay per click leads, he's like, hi, because he thinks that they want his call. They're wanting him to call them, right? So he calls with
Mhm.
this like really high enthusiastic tone, and it ends up
Mhm.
being a great call. But he said most of the time, they don't even know who the hell he is. And I said, you're literally cold calling people. You're
Uh,
spending all this money to cold call buyers when you could be cold calling sellers for literally a penny a piece or less. And
mhm.
if you just pretend like they're pay per click, I said, you would crush it, bro.
Right.
I was like, you would crush it. I said, expires are great because like they try to just sell. For sell by owners are trying to sell, they don't have an agent. And I was like, take circle prospecting. I said, have a buyer and like filter out the
Yeah.
absentee owners of
Mhm.
properties they might buy. I said, call people who aren't living in the home that you're calling about and see if the seller who lives in a different home, this is an investment, this is a rental property, this is a second home, this is whatever. See if he
Mhm.
wants to sell his additional property since prices are so high to your buyer.
That's right.
Call on situations and stir the pot. I said, but think of yourself as a volunteer worker, right? How much money does volunteer worker make?
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing.
Volunteer,
They're working
nothing.
for free.
That's right.
So I said, be a volunteer worker, do a
Uh-huh.
community outreach to see what you can do to help people, man. I said, and just pretend like they're pay per click if that's what you got to tell yourself. It's your brain lying to you about the
Yep.
situation. I don't know for what. It must be the
Right.
crocodile brain. We all have the crocodile brain, the fight or
Mm-hmm.
flight,
Yeah.
mechanisms from our ancient ancestors, when we used to run away from bears and stuff.
Right.
And it's just like our mechanism to like try to protect us. And it's your brain literally lying to you about what could possibly happen when 95% of the stuff you're worried about never happens, and the 5% that does, you can deal with it when it happens.
The
So
Greek
therefore, worry about
philosopher,
100% of nothing.
yeah, the Greek philosopher Epictetus said that we create more hardships in our mind than reality ever will.
Oh God. I
I
mean,
mean,
amen.
yeah, and that's 2,000 years ago.
All your problems are
Yeah,
literally
yeah,
pretend.
no question.
Like,
No
like
question.
literally, like even okay, even on like repair addendums, let's just say, for an example, right?
Mhm.
Somebody like agents get stuff under contract, they get a property under contract. Okay, they were worried about the whole thing up to where it got under contract, right? If they're going to do
Mhm.
it, how the negotiation is going to go. They were worried to death about even getting there. Once it's there, now they're on to the next worry thing, which is the repair addendum. Are they going to get pre-approved? Is the financing going to go through? Here comes the
Yep.
repair addendum. Here comes the repair addendum, and it's the buyers want 5,000 off. You send it to the seller's agent, and they say, "Great, we'll do it. 5,000 off. Boom, you got it. We see the repairs, and we're gonna have to do the repairs if you don't buy it. So bada bang, bada boom, done deal." All that worrying
For
and
nothing.
all those problems in your head literally did not exist. And if they did exist, if there did become a problem during the inspection, repair addendum
Mhm.
negotiations, they didn't exist yet. And if they did exist, they'll exist later. You could deal with it then. You know,
Dude, 3 years ago, you and I had the same conversation. I had a $450,000 listing. I was worried because it was overpriced 50K. I called you up. I said they're stuck on the price where like they want to sell it for 450 and they're not going to deal with anything else. And you said, okay, what's the problem? I said, what happens when the appraisal comes in low? You said, worry about that then. Like the exact same thing you're saying now. Well, just worry about that when it happens, if it happens. Don't worry about it now. And the appraisal came in 15,000 low, and my people bent to the appraisal. It was nothing to even worry about. It still
yeah.
went through like butter,
It's what
no issues.
it's like I tell people, if you got a buyer and you got a seller, right? And they want to
Hmm.
do this deal, the seller wants to sell, the buyer wants to buy, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
All this little $1,000 here, 10,000 there, 5,000 there, repairs, appraisals, financing, and extension on the closing, all that stuff doesn't matter. It's gonna happen. That's why I
Yeah.
say, like, once you get it under contract, you pretty much close your eyes and go to sleep. Honestly, I mean, you don't do that, but you watch it. You put out little fires if you need to. You check on people. You keep them updated. You let them know what's going on. If you have to
Yep.
step in and do some heavy lifting, awesome, whatever. But at the end of the day, in terms of like your mental health, let's just say,
Right.
the deal is either going to happen or it's not. Hit like the future has already played itself out.
Yeah.
In my mind, like the future is done, honestly. Like that's how
Right.
I live. Like it's done. And like we're just so now in the present, since the future's done and I've already basically put that deal in motion, I need to go get other deals in motion so that
That's
the
it.
future can play out with a bunch of closings rather than
Right.
worrying about this one that's already done. That's what people do. They worry about the deal that's already done, that's already headed to closing. They
Right.
worry about that instead of spending time trying to get more deals going.
Hmm.
And that's why they only do one deal at a time or three deals at a time or two deals at a time instead of having like 10 to 15 deals at a time. Dude, I always had 10 to 20 deals under contract.
Yeah.
At one point I had 39 at the highest point I had 39 deals under contract at one time. It was like 2017, I think. There was
That's
one time I
crazy.
had 39 pending deals.
Right.
I had this whiteboard and it was just like blah 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 blah, blah. And I was like, but I was counting them and I was like 39. I was like, damn, let me get one more. Let me make it an even 40.
That's right.
It didn't happen because of course when you got that many, like things are closing every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Um, but I always stayed between 10 and 20. That was my happy place.
Well, and
But
that's
it
the
was,
thing that was so cool about this last year is that it was like an experiment to see how I could go from nothing, which I literally let my pipeline dry up to nothing, to then having an almost $9 million year. which
When did it drop to nothing? You talking about last year?
November last year, November
Yeah.
22
Yeah. Yeah.
was
Yeah.
my last deal. And then I was in January before I closed anything
And
from
why do
my
you think that
momentum.
it dried up?
Oh, because I was on that construction project and I stopped prospecting,
Got you.
like
Got
just
you.
completely shut down. And then
Were you kind of were you kind of like, did you do it on were you in a place where you just thought you didn't have to prospect and business would kind of keep rolling, or did you do it on purpose? Like, did you know
I
when you
didn't
quit
do it on purpose. That's for
Okay.
sure. I got tied up. We took the roof off of our house and built a second floor on it. And I did all the work myself. So it was a lot of labor intensive stuff. And it was time critical because every time it would rain, we would be stuck with an uncovered house that, would have issues. So I was trying to get it done as fast as possible. So it wasn't where I did it on purpose. I did maybe have the idea that things would continue on because when I did kind of lay off prospecting, I had 15, 16 listings. I had a few of those under contract. Things were happening. So I was like, well, I've still got money coming in. I can pick it back up. And then I guess I fell asleep a little bit because by the time I realized, holy crap, I'm down to my last closing. I've got nothing else coming, nothing else in the pipeline. I said, all right, well, it's time to go to work. And then I went on an appointment a day for 45 days. I started getting on here, setting these FISBO appointments, and
You must have
initially
like a shitload of for sale by owners in your area.
I had 90 at the time
Damn.
that I could work through. Now, some of them had been on Zillow for 2 years, like
Yeah,
the
but still.
unsellable or the unreasonable or whatever. I think right now I've got 35 or 40 on
How far out do
Zillow.
you go?
Hour and a half in any direction.
Okay.
Right. I really set my range out. I wanted as big a pool that I could work from, but I set my range out to uncomfortable levels. It's still
Okay.
within my MLS. So I'm not,
Yeah, so
playing in
there's
somebody else's backyard.
So there's 73 right now in my market on Zillow. So it's about the
There
same.
you go. Yeah.
And like, yeah, I mean it's up to an hour out.
Right.
So it's about the same.
But I sat down on day one and I booked out 4 days worth of appointments. And then when I would get up the next day, I would book out the fourth day out and then go on that appointment that day. When I'd get up the next day, I'd book the fourth day out. So I didn't sit down and book out 45 days worth of appointments. That would have been retarded. But I sat down
sure.
and booked out four, called until I got 4 of them booked and then just kept maintaining that fourth day out.
Yeah.
And worked my way through the entire list. Once I got through the list, then I started adding in the expireds and canceleds and, my follow-up game and all that. And it's been a lot of fun. I've had a lot of success with it. Hell, I had an agent come in my Zoom room from Scotland, from Glasgow, Scotland. And she said she'd been seeing my YouTube channel and she wished that she could do FISBOs. And I said, well, why can't you? And she goes, well, that's not a thing that we do here in Scotland. And well, why not? And she goes, we don't have any way, like y'all have Radex and Zillow and all that. We don't have any way to track it. And I said, okay, so if you were going to put your home for sale by owner, what would you do? I said, would you put it on Marketplace or would you where would you advertise it? She goes, well, on our personal Facebook page.
Okay.
And then we put a sign in the yard. I said, okay, there you go. I said, you're in the capital of Scotland, right? She goes, yeah. I said, we have pizza delivery. Do you have food delivery of some sort? She goes, yeah, Uber Eats. And I went, okay, great. So how often do you get Uber Eats? And she kind of laughed. She goes, 4, 5 days a week because I don't like feeding my family. And I was like, perfect. I said, let's do this. I said, we'll work on the strategy to go after FISBOs. But next time your Uber Eats guy comes by, give him your business card and tell him you'll give him £5 for every FISBO sign that he sees. He can take a photo of. It has to be legible. You got to be able to read the phone number on it. Take a picture of the sign and a picture of the front of the house and send it to you and tell him you'll give him £5 for each one of those that he sends over. She was like, that's brilliant. And I said, now, additionally, do you have a contractor that you use regularly? She goes, yeah. I said, do the same thing with him. Not necessarily that you're going to give him £5 because you're already giving him work every time you get a deal and it needs work, you give him a job, right? She goes, yeah. I said, well, ask him for a favor. Ask him to snap photos while he's on other jobs of any for sale by owner signs he sees.
Mhm.
Within the first 4 weeks, she picked up 2 FSBO listings. And we're talking someone who had never heard of anybody in the entire country doing FSBOs before. We can do the same thing here. If you're in one of those markets where, like, there's not a lot of FSBOs, well, how long have you been an agent? Do you have relationships with your contractors? Have your contractors snap signs of those FSBO signs stuck in the front yard? Guess what? If that's all they did, they aren't getting any phone calls. You want to talk about the easiest leads in the world? If all they did was put a sign in their front yard and they're hoping that's what does it, and they're not technological enough to put it on Zillow or put it out there for the world to see, no agents are even calling them. So we can do the same thing right here. I also tell agents, when you're out driving, you go to the grocery store, if you pass a house where the grass is tall, right, and it's obviously not lived in currently, but it looks like a decent sellable house, write the address down. When you get back home, go on the tax records, pull the name, plug it into RedX, plug it into wherever so that you can get a phone number and call them. Hey, I see your property sitting vacant over here. Is there any way I can help you? Are you, planning on renting it out? Are you looking for a renter? Are you thinking maybe selling it in the future? Like, you can be lead generating everywhere you go. You don't have to just sit down and do it in front of the computer. You can, but literally everywhere I go, I'm lead genning.
Yeah. It's amazing because like you go out there and find a way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. And those are fun conversations. I called one, I was taking my wife to lunch, and I called one, and it was a lady was on the tax card, and it went to her voicemail, and it was obviously her. And I almost left it at that, but I went to the second number and I call it, and this guy answers, and I said, yeah, I'm looking for Harriet. And he goes, well, this is William, her son. Can I help you? And I said, yeah, I was taking my wife to lunch over in Murfreesboro. Again, we're going to make this personal, like we're just two guys talking. I said, and I passed this house over here, brick house in your mom's name, but it doesn't look like anybody's living in there. I just wanted to reach out and see what was going on with that. Kind of like your expired script. What in the world's going on with that, right? And he goes, well, my mom passed away a couple weeks ago. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry
Mm,
to hear that. I said,
yeah.
this isn't, I said, I didn't know. He said, no, 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 there's no way you could have known. I'm not mad about that. I was like, all right. I said, well, I still feel bad. He goes, no, I don't. He said, I need a real estate agent because once we get through the stuff with my mom's funeral and all, I'm going to need to sell this. I was like, all right, well, let me grab an email from you. I'll send you over my resume. And then when you're ready, you can just reach back out to me. So, like you never know what you're going to come across with these things, but most of the calls I make are fun. I'll make 1 or 2 calls a day and set 1 or 2 appointments pretty consistently
Mhm.
doing these things. So it's easy and it's fun.
Yeah, dude. I was just looking at this some of these text messages because I just sent out this text
Hmm.
and I was like, "Oh, do you get my text messages?"
I do. I think. Yeah,
I
I should
said,
get
"As
your
we
text
close out the
messages.
last work day of the year, I wanted to say how proud I am of how you handled 2023 and that 2024 is going to be the best year of your life. Keep pushing." Did you see that?
Yes, yes, I did
Okay.
see that.
So like I was just looking at a couple of these responses. This person is John Scotty in Gainesville. He said he's 26 years old. He says made 200,000 in my second full year in
Nice.
real estate with you as my coach.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
That's solid.
Huh?
I said that's solid.
Crazy. So and then this guy, he said, Ricky, I don't know if you see these texts, but thank you for everything you do. This is Hunter Donnelly. He's 25 in Irving, Pennsylvania. These are 25 and 26-year-olds.
Yeah.
Don't know if you'll see this. Thank you for everything you do. Because of the info you give out for free, I grossed 102,000 in commissions this year after my broker split. I'm 25. I sell in Pittsburgh, so not a crazy market like LA or New York. This is more money than almost anyone I went to high school with is making, and is allowing me to buy my first house in 2024. You're the man.
Wow.
Um, yeah, like this is just like a couple of text messages I'm just looking at. I think you probably saw that message the other day. This guy did 1.7 million in commissions last
Hmm.
year.
I did see that.
He said he started following me in 2018 when he got his license, and he's been doing the weekly email, the calls, and everything. He did 1.7 million in commissions
Crazy.
last year. He's in Canada. Just like it's just, dude, it's too much, man, for me. Like, it's a lot, man.
Too much to
Like,
comprehend.
it
Yeah.
is. I can't even fathom the amount of people that we've helped.
Right.
You know, but anyway, I'm gonna have you come in and do a session on for sale by owners on
Okay.
the Gold Bar and the coaching platform.
Okay.
Guys listening, if you're not on the Gold Bar, the new Gold Bar platform, just go to zerotodiamond.com, create an account. There's a bronze membership that's free. There's a silver membership that's $99 a month. The $99 a month, we do a weekly call. We do monthly listing challenges. We have a leaderboard. You get all the replays of all the past coaching calls. We do a vacation invite every year. We can hang out in Mexico or wherever we go this year. And we're building a really, just a real incredible community of agents. We're already up to like 400. We have 5,000 agents on the platform. We just hit that today. And we've got 300 to 400 that are actually silver members that are participating. And it's just, we're just going to continue to grow that. But I'm going to have you come in, man, and actually go through your entire for sale by owner scripts and strategy and answer questions and everything for the silver members this month in January.
Sounds good.
So I'll let you know about that, because I want these people to hear this, man. Get all these strategies from you and all that stuff. And again, I'm going to link your YouTube video in the description so people can go and watch all the videos of you actually talking to prospects. If you guys haven't seen that,
That's
that is
silly.
That's a hoot.
It's silly. I mean,
It's a
it
hoot to
is,
holler,
right?
man. You guys
I'm
gotta,
in here prank calling people, making money.
that's it. That's it. You say prank call?
I'm in here prank calling people, making
That's
money.
what it
right? I say
is.
silly stuff.
I used to say that all the time. Like, I'm a professional pranker. Like,
Yeah.
I go and I prank call people all day long
Yep.
and help them buy and sell real estate.
Yeah, that's
what
it.
we do.
That's
Bro, I
right.
appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on.
All right, brother.
We need to do this at least once or twice or 3 times a month.
Let's do it, man. I'm up for it. I'll have more stories because I'm on the phone every day.
Cool, man. Be good, man.
All right, brother. See ya.
See you, bro.